Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It is so wonderful to have you join us. I'm just going to make sure that I like to just double check and make sure that we're actually live.
Mhm.
So hold on one second. Let me make sure that we are live. I like to just double check. Okay. I'm sorry, everyone. Y'all heard me do a check. But we are
Mhm.
actually live.
It's
I like to
official.
kind of, sorry, Key, what were you saying?
No, I said it's official.
It's official,
Right,
official. Thank you so much. I brought all the panelists in because, as I mentioned today, we are just kind of um, trying to get everyone in a timely fashion in the middle of the show. We typically do this for an hour. Thank you all so much for being here. Again, this is Beautifully Uncomfortable, which is a talk show that brings a new level of awareness to difficult or confusing topics, however uncomfortable it may be to listen to, watch, share, and or engage. Our hope is that a beautiful understanding will emerge for the panel members as well as the viewers. Ain't that beautiful? So we've had a couple of shows this year as a continuation from the beginning of this show, which was the brainchild of Flex Mathews. And this year we restarted the show. Mental Stamina was a previous guest of ours of last year, but everyone so far on this panel, other than Mental Stamina, is new to the show. So thank you all so much for joining. I feel like I can talk and espouse beautifully about each of you, but I would love if we could do a quick intro on who you are. I will go around and where you show up in my stream and why you show up first. You tell us a little bit about who you are.
I bet. I'm YU78. Uh, I, um, I'm just a somebody else musician. You know what I'm saying? But again, a musician. What have you?
Yes. Would you and what would you say your comfort level is with the metaverse and web3 on a scale of 1 to 10?
Uh, I am. I'm just pretty much getting knowledge of what Kane Mayfield, in fact, had was trying to how pretty much telling me that pretty much the little videos and stuff I do, what that is. I just didn't a different way. I put it on my, but he was saying that I could do that in the same way, and I guess it's a different crowd, a different means of whatever whatever you stand for, whatever. But I'm at the point of interest with that, and um, just gathering.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Dumi Right, you're next on my screen. Introduce yourself with who you are and what your comfort level is 1 to 10 on Metaverse and Web3.
All right, Dumi Right. I'm an artist, curator, cultural ambassador, international hip hop artist as well, and been working in music and performance art and hip hop education for a while. And in terms of metaverse and Web3, they're concepts that I'm aware of and know people that are like actively involved in, and people will tell me about projects that they're doing, but I wouldn't call myself a practitioner yet, but always, like what you said, looking for new and different ways as things evolve and grow, right? The mantra I live by is never let your past be brighter than your future. So I'm always trying to see what's next and what I'm gonna be doing, and how I can continue to reach those audience, especially on a global scale. So 1 to 5, I don't know. Like 3 or 4 maybe. Just kind
Yeah,
of
okay.
introduced to and aware of and have read up on, but
Yes.
am not like hands on
Mm-hmm.
into it. But that's kind of
Perfect.
where it is.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And by all means, we understand there's all different types of aspects of of knowledge and experience. So thank you for sharing that with us today. I'm going to go to Key Turner, who's next on my screen, to introduce yourself and share your experience level.
All right. What's up, y'all? It's Key Turner, and I'm an MC, songwriter, and been doing music since early preteen days. And as far as my experience level with the metaverse, and is it Web3, you say? Is it
Yes.
Web3? Yeah. So I would have to give myself, because I'm aware of it, but I am totally, I don't know. I'm not hands on with it. So I'd have to give myself a 3 on the scale of 1 to 10. So I'm here with the intention of learning more about it, because I do know that going into the future, that's going to be a very big part of the music culture. So yeah, I'm here to learn. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining today, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about your perspective. Next on the screen is Kane Mayfield. Introduce yourself, Kane.
Kane Mayfield. I'm a musician, Web3 musician, NFT artist, host a couple shows, make dick jokes, regular stuff. Same as I always been. I just now do a lot more computers and try not to leave the house unless I really, really have to.
There you go. I love that. And then last but not least, Mental Stamina is joining us today. And Mental Stamina, share a little bit about your bio and your experience on the go. No, I cannot hear you. Maybe it's just me. Can anyone hear? Wait, there you go, I think. Yes, I can hear you. Keep going. It was in and then it went out. I could hear you and then it popped out. Bear with us, everybody. I know we are this is not unusual. Chrome browsers are typically supposed to be used here, but even when you do all the great things that you're supposed to do on Restream, it's finicky. So bear with us because sound does go in and out. I wonder, I can come back to Mental Stamina while they get their sound working. And I wondered if I might open up I will give my very, very amorphous kind of definition of what the metaverse is that I pulled from a number of resources, but really is an amorphous concept a little bit because it means different things to different people, is what I gathered. And at a basic level, it is sort of generally described as an online space where people can socialize, work, and play using online avatars. The original Metaverse Second Life is sort of a good example of that. But designated online spaces are shared with other avatars, and unlike a Zoom or a Teams call that we're on that exists after the user is finished with them. So unlike Zoom, where you're closing out a call and that will all leave and depart and this space will end. So futurists kind of take this metaverse concept a step further, envisioning a more immersive experience that sort of cloud technologies and virtual reality headsets and smartphones and such to bring users into a virtual world, one with digital neighborhoods, restaurants, homes, parks, businesses, and other spaces that do parallel our real lives. So with that being said, and thinking about the fact that the Greek prefix for meta means higher or beyond and often transcending, and the verse comes from the word universe to indicate the metaverse is a universe that it transcends the one that we currently inhabit. I wondered if I might pose a first question here around for each of you. how do you feel, or how do you situate or orient yourself with the metaverse? What does it mean to you? And I feel like if anybody wants to sort of start with that question, I won't spotlight anybody unless anyone specifically wants to answer first. And Tyrone, sorry, Mental Stamina, if you have your voice, I'd love to hear from you first, and you can introduce yourself too. Let's see. No, it's not working. And I have to say that, yeah, I'm looking most forward because Mental Stamina has a lot of experience with.
Mic check, mic check, mic check.
Oh, there we go. Yes, you're working. I can hear your mic checks.
All right, give me 1 second. Let me move around and I'll be right back.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else want to take that question on in the meantime? Why you? I was asking sort of. I gave a little bit of a brief definition that I compiled from a lot of different resources on what the metaverse is, and wanted to get an idea from someone from, like, what does it mean for you? If anybody wants to take that question, otherwise, Kane Mayfield, I might ask you to take that question first.
I mean, I try not to put too much into it, only because it does mean different things to different people, and then people get caught up in semantics. I just know that there is no one place. It's not one single definitive location. There are many different metaverses, like saying city to me. Now, there's also free cities, which I think are important to make the distinction of. If a city is like, for instance, if it's a metaverse, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the blockchain. So if it does, then I want to see if it's decentralized or centralized. That's kind of like where my premise is. Lots of different things can be metaverses, whether they're closed or open. So, but yeah, there's tons of them. Crypto voxels is a good one. Decentraland's another one. Sandbox, Omnium Space. There's a bunch of different metaverse. It's just a matter of which ones you want to interact with and for what reason.
Great response to that. That was the first thing that I gathered, was that it is truly something different for every single person. And for sure, thank you so much for sharing that background. I think people that don't realize, I think it's like a thing. Like, what does it mean? Does it mean, it's some kind of like little thing that, what is it, a physical thing? Is it some, avatar space? What is it exactly? So thank you for sharing that background. Mental Stamina, it looks like you might have found a perfect place.
Maybe. Can you hear me yet?
I can hear you great. Yes.
Okay,
we can hear
cool.
you great. And I wondered, first introduce yourself, and then if you can answer this question, what does the metaverse mean to you?
Okay, yeah, cool. You actually said one of my favorite words when you were talking about the metaverse. You said the word futurist. And I've been calling myself a futurist since the 90s. I actually got introduced into rapping and software development at the same time in 1998. And so since then, my whole time that I've been rapping, I've been building software. So these two things have always kind of gone hand in hand for me, because I started my hip hop kind of in the metaverse on web forums. And so now what I'm currently doing is building a hip hop metaverse. And so I'm making a metaverse, and I'm going to be kind of like the Pied Piper, ushering hip hop artists into the metaverse the same way I had to drag rappers and producers into the internet 22 years ago by force, literally.
When you say that, Mental Stamina, when you said you're having to drag them, is that because people don't want to? They don't want to, or you think they don't know? Why? I know with internet, it was so new at the time, and really people were underutilizing it. What's the situation now? How are artists sort of receiving when you're trying to get them to take advantage of this?
Oh, most of my death threats come from me trying to help rappers with the internet. So, like, they're like, it's like when you're trying to, introduce fire to the cavemen. They see that heat, they think you're trying to burn their whole village down. So everybody's defensive, and they're fighting for their lives while you're just trying to keep them warm at night. So, it's people are very, very resistant to technology, and artists are really the flame carriers who can really spread technology. If you look at the internet, like, who's spreading the word about the internet? It's rappers and everybody. Listen to my YouTube and all of this stuff. They're inadvertently the honeybees carrying the pollen from plant to plant. And so it's a perfect merger when you connect the engineers creating the structure, and then you have the artists as the marketers. They work it perfectly in tandem. And so the vision is right now, hoping that artists have enough experience from the internet that they can go into the metaverse with open eyes and open arms. But so far, the apprehension is just the same. It's literally the same as 20 years ago when I was telling everybody, everybody needs a website, and they all said, "Shut your nerd butt up. We don't want to do that internet stuff." And it's the same thing now. I tell everybody needs to be in the metaverse. You need NFTs, you need crypto, and they think I'm trying to steal their money.
Now it's interesting because why you mentioned earlier around Kane Mayfield had been trying to get them interested in this space for a minute. Kane Mayfield, I know you did the same for me, trying to introduce me, and what I joke saying when Mental Stamina had asked me, and you didn't do it, right? Because knew that I had not, and it was like, yeah, I didn't. Whatever my excuses were outside of that, right? Like what was the real reason behind me not doing it? And a lot of that was just because I didn't have the time to do the research and know what I was getting into. And maybe I was oriented into like a pixel space. I wasn't even ready for like a voxel space. I don't even know what that means. I got to get into, do my research. And so I wonder why you kind of, as you are making music now, I always liken it to say there are still people who are much analog heads, right? There's still people who are like, they don't ever leave working on a tangible piece of equipment. They still want to use reel to reel to mix their records, right? There's still people who are just kind of like, I don't know what this DAW thing that who was using this anymore. And so what's your opinion on seeing, because you've been making music and across all of those sort of dimensions, what does that look like for
Right.
you in terms of like people getting connected with technology overall?
Yeah, I mean, for real, you want to be able to create, no matter the room that you're in, to be able to do. If people are all updating on this new stuff, you want to be able to still go in a room where they're using all the old school stuff. I kind of got out of how to do that. Like, the worst thing in the world is to have but not, because like, if I don't used to using
You're fading.
oh, I just
We
gotta
could, and then you faded for me. Yes, I think so. Can keep talking.
well,
Your signal's
basically,
just going down a little bit.
real oh shit. Shoot. I'm still. Am I still there?
You're coming in. Yep. Yep.
Just basically, if even if it's not, if you don't know how to do it, how to use different means, you got people around you that, or that I can call. Like when Kane Mayfield hit me up, I knew nothing about that, and I guess he went through putting on social media or whatever, and was like, that is exactly what an NFT is. So I'm thinking if I were to get into that, I'd be doing something new. So he kind of opened my eyes on that, and gave me some stuff to check up on.
Yes. I think that's important too. It's like who ushering in, I mean, Mental Stamina and Kane Mayfield are much evangelists in that way because it's kind of like helping to usher people in. I mean, and Mental Stamina, I mean, I'm speaking for you, but a lot of the times the digital divide, I feel like oftentimes exists with, you know, the fact that we are in creating in a space that is very much a Black art form. And, you know, it's obviously no secret that that Black folks are behind the curve in the digital divide. Women specifically. I mean, Key Turner, I wanted to ask you about that.
Don't get it too twisted. Don't get it too twisted though, because in the when we start talking about technology and the blockchain, Black people have contributed so much to this thing already that, you know, DeFi and other things like are really being built on the backs of Black people too. So we definitely have a strong presence in this space already.
That's important to know, I think, more than anything, because that's not I feel like that goes against what we typically think, right? Like, I feel like when I'm looking in workspaces, there are not, when I even think about like who surrounds me, and I work in STEM and fundraising in STEM organizations, and there rarely is, you know, candidates that organizations are saying they can find, because they're like, we just don't have, you know, we have great salaries, or, you know, whatever organization it is, top tier organizations, and they can't, you know, bring in people of color and women. But Key Turner, I wanted to ask you that, and sort of what your orienting is around around just technology in general and how you might use it in your music.
Yeah, so with my day job, I'm actually kind of in the IT field. I do, you know, tech support. And, you know, one of the main things that we hear all the time from the OGs, the men specifically, who, you know, have our backs, they're like, look, you know, when it comes to the, you know, technology, there's a lot of, you know, downplaying on the women because they think that, oh, we're not up to par with, you know, the times or whatever, you know what I mean? But my colleagues that I work with, I mean, I got co-workers, young women, some of color, some not, that are deep into it, you know, scripting and elevating and everything. And that inspires me a whole lot. But from the outside looking in with like Metaverse and NFTs, I haven't really, I don't know anyone personally deep into that part of it yet, you know, but I know that there's plenty of us out there. I'm just not aware of it yet, that are really, you know, putting their flag in the ground when it comes to it, which is, you know, very important. Just like how we talk about hip hop, how women in hip hop need to be, you know, our presence needs to be strong in that regard. But yeah, and that's why I'm anxious to learn today, because I feel like, you know, this is the future. This is what we're evolving to. Just like how, you know, 20 years ago it was MySpace and Black Planet and all of this, and here we are today with Instagram. Not to be all over the place, but just going back from what everybody was touching on with getting hip to the times. Like, I was the one opposed to Instagram at first. It took me a minute to even get on board with Instagram. And then I realized, like, okay, if you're trying to be in the flow, then you might want to go ahead and hop on board. And it's benefited me in so many ways. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could have stayed to the back and just, you know, not join Instagram, this, that, and the third. But, you know, it was to my benefit to do it. You know, like, I was super opposed to it, super offended anytime you need to get on Instagram. You need to, you know what I'm saying? Do all of that. I'm like, I don't want an Instagram. But then I realized, like, this is what it's evolving to. You know, at first we didn't want to get on. I wasn't really hit the MySpace. I didn't want to get on MySpace either. But then I realized that this is what it's evolving to. And if you want to stay in that flow, man, you gotta get into it. You gotta learn. Part of my reason why I'm here today. I don't know much about it, but dang it, I want to learn because I know that this is, that precursor. We're going there. And 10 years from now, Instagram is going to be of the past and everybody's going to be in some metaverse on some NFT. That's what it is. Here it is. They're already giving you the preview.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that's why this conversation is super important, because that's what it's going to be. We always think, what's the next thing? Because nothing lasts forever. Facebook ain't going to be there forever.
Mm-hmm.
They're already evolving to the next thing. Instagram ain't going to be there forever. It's already evolving to the next thing. So it's like, let me find out what's really good so I can be right there in the fold of it when it starts to unravel,
So you said
And,
something key in there. You said nothing lasts forever. And so
nope.
with the blockchain, that actually pivots that conversation to a degree. And so part of the blockchain is that the way that the data is stored and backed up, in theory, it's built in a way to last forever, in theory. Like as long as we have,
that's crazy.
as long as we have a computer. So think about like how LimeWire came around. Before that, if you wanted to download an MP3, Dumi Right would send me an MP3 and I would download it directly from him. Now with LimeWire, what they did, they took that MP3 and they split it up so they would back it up between hundreds of people. So everybody has a copy of that MP3. And so since everybody had a copy, whenever you wanted to download it, instead of me downloading it from Dumi, I get a piece from him, a piece from you, a piece from everybody. And so in that way, that became peer-to-peer file sharing. And so you saw how it made the whole music industry go crazy because they started being like, oh, we're going to sue you from downloading, but they couldn't, how? You weren't really actually downloading, transferring music. And so this kind of does it the same way with the data. And that's how the blockchain keeps all of its data, and cryptocurrency is just kind of piggybacking off of that. And so basically all of the financial transactions and data transactions are backed up by everybody who holds any of the crypto. So if you got a tiny little fraction of Bitcoin, you have a copy of all of the transactions that are going on. And so it's the whole system pretty much keeps and maintains and monitors itself. And so that's really the main thing about that. The conversation with crypto is that it's a conversation. Kane mentioned it earlier. He mentioned centralization versus decentralization, and that's actually the biggest conversation when it comes to the crypto and the blockchain, because that gets into ownership of data and everything. And so with the metaverse is putting the internet on the backs of a database that you actually have control over and that you can actually allow to grow under your, like, off the seed that you plant instead of going off of all these third-party systems. And so in that way, it gives us a type of a liberation where we have control over the way it grows for us financially. So in theory, you could create something now, and in a few hundred years, you're still generating revenue off of that same creation.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for breaking down.
That's mind blowing. Yeah.
And another thing to throw on that, when you were mentioning, like, we were talking just about Black people and stuff, like, for like the whole like way that data is primarily stored on a blockchain was created by a Black man. The whole like DeFi revolution, from my knowledge, was spurred by a Black man. The developers that are on my team that code blockchain are all Black women. And so we got a lot in this, and actually just thinking really where I'm creating a coin called hip hop. So my cryptocurrency is called hip hop. I'm doing it for the specific reason of merging rappers and hip hop with the blockchain so that all of the rappers can hold hands and we can go in this collective. And so I'm primarily targeting the Black diaspora. So I'm targeting Black people and trying to get them into tech together. You know what I'm saying? And so with that said, the DMV, so I actually was the one who kind of got Kane Mayfield, like nudged him into like pushing NFTs regularly, but the person who introduced Kane Mayfield was Jay Skrilla. Now, Jay Skrilla, I know him as a producer from the DMV scene, Interloop, but on the blockchain, he's like a crypto OG because he released the first audio NFTs on Bitcoin back in 2016. And so the DMV hip hop scene is actually the most pivotal hip hop scene when it comes to, pivotal music scene when it comes to the blockchain because of Jay Skrilla. And so we're like in a great situation for us to build off of. Kane Mayfield is literally like a blockchain celebrity because he did an NFT with Jay Skrilla. I mean, there's many other reasons why he's a celebrity on the blockchain, but that kind of position DJ Jay Skrilla with Interloop Records.
Right. No.
So,
my bad.
Yeah. And then it's another dude from the DC scene. Huh? Say that again.
I said, I thought you said him and somebody else.
Kane Mayfield.
Kane Mayfield. I was talking about Kane Mayfield.
And Kane Mayfield. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then there's another guy. He's to go by Pro the Doge. I had him shoot a music video for my ex-girlfriend back in the day. But he became the Dogecoin millionaire. And so, like, our hip hop scene is very has a strong presence in the metaverse right now. And so, if we actually rally as a unit and just on our knowledge level, start getting up to par so that we understand what blockchains are and all of these things and how to actually operate on the metaverse, we are in a position to. It's like if Bob Marley created reggae, now all Jamaicans can make reggae music. That's how the DMV hip hop scene is positioned in the NFT scene online if you do it properly. And so that's how I'm building my thing out.
Thank you, Mental Stamina, for always dropping. Like, first of all, I love the fact that I feel like I would selfishly just say I think all things have everything into existence is the brainchild of a Black man or woman. So, but that's just my my orientation to the way that I experience the universe. So I'm not surprised that it would be the mental sort of works and ideology of us. But I wanted,
we didn't know a Black woman created GPS either until recently. Like, what?
Exactly.
Like, exactly.
Like, and that tells me a lot because it is such a sort of decentralized space, and it's not something that I wanted to ask about ownership before I do that. Dumi Right, I wanted to sort of ask you to chime in here as well on just kind of making connections, because Key Turner raised a good point around like just the demystifying like social media tools and the digital channels that we have now to communicate. And one of the things I feel like it has increased, you have been, a part of Zimbabwe Legit and making music from across the globe and working with people across the globe. And so, it sort of unlocks the opportunity to do that in a more, I guess people would say, more seamless way. But do you find that, the internet and just in terms of any digital tools, how social media specifically, do you think they've enhanced that connection experience to other people across the world? Or in some cases, I realize it has challenged our ability to communicate?
Yeah, so I think on the whole, it's made, it's a cliche, but it's made the world smaller because things that we tried to do, like I remember back in the early 90s when we were putting out a record and people were like, oh, you should go to, Ghana or whatever. And it's like, well, who do I know over there? And they're like, oh, well, I don't know, but they'd love what y'all do. Whereas now we're connecting and building, and I'm making songs with this cat in Nigeria because somebody said Mode 9 is the illest, and I heard his stuff and I loved it, and we're building, and we've never met, but we're able to interact in a real way, right? Like, and have conversations and talk about doing stuff. And I think something you hit on that's key. So I'm going to take an exit ramp off the question really quick, because something I think that's key and important for me, and I think for people that are like thinking about the space and wanting to learn, is kind of knowing kind of some simple steps and things, that practical things you can do. Because what I've found a lot of times, like my brother went to LA and he was doing something with Digital Underground, and he was like, it's for Web3, and he's still trying to figure it out and everything. But there's just like so much and so many things happening, and it's kind of like, in practical, simple terms, like what's the, quick start guide to like, okay, as an artist or as a performance artist or as a curator, as a hip hop educator, or whatever it is that, folks like us do as a creative, what's the best thing to do to kind of build? And I'll kind of looking at you, Kane, kind of look at you, Mental Stamina, and you too, Prowess, but like, what are some things like as an artist I can do, like to kickstart, my journey into the metaverse or with NFTs? Because there's like a lot of information out there, and I think, you know what I mean, especially with folks, that are their own managers and promoters and recording artists and sound engineers sometimes and producers. Like, there's just so much stuff, and I think that's where that barrier ends up happening. And so I think, especially for me, so like I'll relate it to like STEM and computer programming. I was working with some folks at VCU that said they've got a camp where they teach kids computer programming in Python through making beats. And they're explaining it to the university and to people, but it doesn't really sound cool. It's like, hey, I'm a music professor at VCU and I'm going to teach you how to, and they're like, well, you make hip hop, so can you break it down? And so I did like an explainer video, and they were like, oh, this is crazy. And I'm rapping over beats that these kids are producing, but it's practical and easy for people to see.
Street moment.
So it's almost like if you kind of almost learn by doing or learn by observing. So I'm like, okay. And Mental Stamina is like, hey, this is an NFT I built. Or if Kane is like, this is, the Metaverse tools that I like.
To answer your question, so if you go to my website, the website is just www.hiphop.game. So it's just hiphop.game. And so if you go there right now and you just click on play at the top, you'll hop into the metaverse and you'll be able to watch us right now. Right now we're being broadcast in the metaverse in there. And so if you go on the website and instead click on join, it'll give you a form, and that form will allow you to add all your social media and add a photo. And so from there, what I'm doing is once you add your social media and a photo, I'm basically going to I'm starting basically a hip hop community, and I'm walking everybody step by step through getting into Web3. And so you mentioned, wearing multiple hats. I'm a rapper. I've thrown over 300 events. I've managed over 50 different artists. I've built, dozens of websites. And so the thing is, from those perspectives, I'm building it in a way for the artist to basically come into the garden and be able to just grow. And so how someone is going to use Web3 is going to be vastly different. Like, it's just basically how we use the internet. Everybody's going to use the internet differently. But there's a few key things on the internet you want to have. Like, if you're on the internet, you don't just want to be using social media. You want to have your own domain name and pushing all of your social media there, have your domain name optimized for search engines. Same thing with Web3. The core thing you need is a Web3 wallet. So the first thing you want to do is go to a place like metamask.io, and this will give you a decentralized wallet. And this will become the core of your identity. Now, you'll have many wallets, of course, as you start to do different things, but starting with this one because it's kind of a universal wallet. Now, this allows you to receive things, to create things, and have it so that this is where so it's like your identity, but because it's decentralized, you don't have to connect it with your identity. And so it becomes your anonymous identity. And so with this wallet, it's secure. So if you got $1 million in there, nobody can touch your money, not even the government, unless you give them the password. And so starting with the wallet is just step one. From there, learning how to use your wallet is really step two. And so that's a vast amount of different options from there. But really, once you have a wallet, and you're kind of, you can connect to Web3. Now, as an artist, you know, the next step I would recommend is start to getting into Web3 music communities. And so really that's just conversations. That can just be going into different metaverses or spaces, being around different artists, watching what's going on. Because once you start putting out NFTs as an artist, now you're a Web3 artist. And so now it's like putting out your first mixtape on the internet. Now you're really connected in that community. You have something on the blockchain that's connected to your brand and who you are that you'll be able to build upon. And so it's gradual steps like that on a technical level. But then on a cultural level, it's many, many ways you could really go down any rabbit hole or do a bunch of different things in a myriad of ways to make it all work together. What I'm doing is just trying to guide people so that they understand the different, like I was talking about earlier, what Jay Skrilla did with the NFTs. I've been in crypto since 2017. And so it took me 5 years to inadvertently figure out what he did, 6 years ago. And so now I'm at the point
5 years? Wow.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things. If he would have, let's imagine Jay Skrilla would have just told me in 2017, like, yo, this is what I did, this is how I did it, boom, 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 boom. I would have skipped 5 years in theory of my life to some degree. Now, my vision is I can.
I'm going to put a comment up, Mental Stamina, while you're talking. I don't know who this is, but I thought it was interesting that we say it. Because this is snake oil for people. Oh, it's a friend. Okay, a snake oil, but that's a real thing because people consider technology that.
So the thing about what she's saying is that she's saying info dumping on new people isn't helpful, and so in this scenario we have a time limit. We're in here for an hour.
Yes.
This can be replayed. This is, even though you guys are new, I know all of you, for the exception of, sorry,
Key Turner.
But yes, Key Turner. I'm just meeting her. But why you do me? All the rest of us go back a decade more, such and such. I am info dumping, but the vision, the point is that any of these nuggets can be grabbed upon. See, like I said, it took me 5 years to understand that he was dropping his NFTs on Bitcoin as opposed to on these other blockchains. And so understanding certain vocabulary and understanding certain concepts, even though it is info dumping and this is high level, you're not even, you guys, most people aren't going to get the basic stuff. But if you replay this and you grab some of this stuff that I'm talking about, you Google it, you go down those rabbit holes.
Yes.
I'm just basically, like, instead of talking to you like babies and just giving you, because here's my thing about crypto conversations. Everybody's saying the same stuff. Like, I don't even watch crypto conversations for the most part.
It feels like I was going to say this comment is funny because for many people this is real. It feels like multi-level marketing, right? And that to me was step one of like I felt like I've heard this pitch before from 5 links and whatever, ain't it great, Amway, whoever. And that's kind of the orientation that I had with it before, was that any space, right? People find ways to maximize profit in. It's going to have that. But I like Mental Stamina that you're breaking down in a very real way of saying, do the research yourself. You're actually advising people to do that. Go back, look at this.
Well, what I said before the info dump, I said, go to my website, click on join, enter in your social media and your stuff, because you're basically joining. And I said from there, I'm going to go through one by one and handhold. You feel what I'm saying? Because now all Dumi's information in this photo, I can help make him a basic NFT, and it's putting it out through my platform, and my whole community is already pushing these NFTs. So basically, it's like if I got a record label, instead of having to teach every artist about how sound engineering, recording, licensing, I just set up a model that's fair and, you know, that works. And it's just like, here's a basic thing so that you can learn by doing in my gym, but I'm gonna also show you all the knowledge that I have so that you can set up on your own and be operating and doing whatever. Because see the difference of, like, you know, in her comment, you know, like this is the thing too. This is why, like, if you know me, Prowess, I go back and forth with every hip hop motherfucker, because for me, I don't go with what the status quo is. I figure it out and I go, this is what I'm gonna do, and I share my knowledge. Like a lot of people who beef with me, they see me doing events and stuff, and they think that I'm trying to take something. My love language is sharing knowledge. And so in her comment, she says, info dumping on new people is not helpful. Go hang out in the rooms where no one's trying to sell you Avon and snake oil. So from her perception, she feels like I'm trying to sell something. I know all of y'all are my family. Like y'all are cousins to me. This isn't anything I'm selling. You know what I'm saying? This is me offering y'all 2 decades of my knowledge, and you know, and saying like, let's get this army going. And now, so she says, no one
else is in agreement with Natalie Mental Stamina. I'm just pulling this one on screen too.
I'm watching all of them, but you got to understand the cultures here. What I'm doing right now, I am gonna disrupt all of the crypto people. Like I said, I'm insular. The same way I'm not sitting here. I don't need to deal with all the rap motherfuckers to do my rap shit. I don't do that with crypto people. And so usually when I'm building with crypto people, the way that they advise how to onboard people and deal with new people and all of that stuff isn't the way that I do it. The way that they do everything isn't the way that I do it, because I come from hip hop. So I'm doing this the hip hop way, and we about to come in here and freestyle this motherfucker. And so, yes, it is a black hole. Onboarding is a science. I'm not saying that anybody's going to get the end all know all in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But I do this 24/7, and like I said, anybody who knows me know I've been doing this for years now. I'm 5 years deep in this, so you know.
And I mean, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, from an educator perspective, right? Like, if I'm, you know, in a class and we're talking about hip hop or whatever, there's gonna be many ways to do it. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily a curriculum, especially with hip hop. And people have different strengths. Some cats are freestyle cats, and they're gonna be, yo, you got to go off the head. And some cats like, nah, you got to sit and write. And then we could debate, nah, writing is the way to go, because that way you'll hone. But if you just tell people there's 2 ways to do it, you could freestyle or you can write. It's like, oh, then they can pick and choose. And I think that's the same with this thing, right? Like you guys said, there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different avenues. And I love the thing that you said. It's like the internet. You can do so many different things with it. You can do e-commerce, you can put videos. So that's a good way to think about it. And I think just sharing more of like everything you guys have said so far to me is on point. You know what I mean? Like, I think like if you just keep telling people and showing people, especially, you know what I mean? Learn by doing, learn by observation, hopping in there and being, like you said, create a profile. Okay, now I'm in. Okay, what does that mean? Let me poke around. As a curious people and as a creative people, I think a lot more people will get involved, because I think, like we were talking about, like what stops people or what prevents people from growing and seizing this opportunity of the future. And it's just kind of that lack of understanding and kind of diving in and maybe going too deep and kind of getting overwhelmed with like, oh, there's all this information and should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? But just kind of seeing some practical examples and being like, oh, okay, this guy's dropping his album on an NFT. Okay, that's knowledge. You know what I mean? Oh, this person has a profile. Well, I'm building my own metaverse. Oh, okay, word, you can do that? Let me go see what it's all about. Like, it's just the knowledge sharing is key. And that's how we'll advance. I like what you said together, like what you said too, how we'll advance together. You know what I mean? Because my strengths aren't necessarily your strengths, so we can complement. You know what I mean? Exactly. That's how we build a team and help each other navigate. Or maybe we both have similar strengths and we can optimize that and move things forward. So yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's go.
that is the most important part, is that what I like about what Mental Stamina is doing. And Kane Mayfield too, as I mentioned, Kane Mayfield gave me the toolkit, so to speak, to get started, right? Told me, go to MetaMask, do this particular thing. I think it's still being able to process. A lot of people do have their methods of how they process and learn things, right? And it's sort of what Key Turner too said at the beginning. If I wasn't receptive, and I'm listening to Kane Mayfield, somebody I trust, who I know, to take their word for it and be like, okay, I know that they're giving me the toolkit to get started. Mental Stamina just gave us 3 steps. And I think it's still the fear for people. We just have to say what it is, that there are still some people who are like, they don't even want to get on social media. Those folks don't even want to get a cell phone. They still don't want to pay their bill with the credit card online because they think that their information is going to be stolen. But they don't realize you don't have to even take the credit card out of your wallet for it to be stolen. It's sort of like they're demystifying a lot of this for people, which is what I think, Mental Stamina is doing in many ways, is that there are people that are just going to say, no, I don't want to do this, because they have so many preconceived, or just don't want to do the research. I think we assume that everybody wants to go and sort of run things through their filter, or that they want to actually try and, access new technologies and new experiences. But some people who are just like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do this.
Here's the trick though, Prowess. At
Uh-huh.
the end of the day, you got to switch the conversation though, because like the biggest thing that I've learned about crypto is that it's the same thing with hip hop. You don't have to persuade people to like your favorite rapper. All you got to do is make your favorite music. You don't have to make people like your favorite rapper. We're rappers. We create, we make the stuff we want to hear. It doesn't matter if anybody listens or not. And so that's the thing at the end of the day with Web3. You don't have to make another person get into crypto or anything. What you have to do is understand the philosophy and the kung fu of it, so that you can do your art form and self-actualize using these tools, because that's all that matters. So I've switched my thought process. Like, I'm not really like an onboarder. Like, I don't really care if people get in, to be honest. Like, I try to help Black people. I try to push it towards women. But at the end of the day, I like how, she mentioned the snake oil. Last year I made my first $1 million off crypto, and I was just hitting people up like, yo, like, let me help you. Here's some money. I was giving away money. I lost so many friends because I was trying to give them $5,000 worth of crypto, and they just thought I was like, but it's one of those things.
They thought it's they thought what they thought really meant Mental Stamina.
Who knows?
Is that a thing?
I don't know what people thought.
Oh, okay,
I just lost a lot of friends by trying to be generous. Some people I gave away $100,000 last May. A lot of people took the money, but a lot of people lost friendships, and then it just got really weird. But all I'm saying is, you don't have to worry about onboarding people and worrying about why people don't understand that you can learn blockchain development, and then also just understand like how when the internet came around, like initially people were using the internet to further things that they were doing in the physical realm. But after a little while, these things started existing that only existed on the internet. It was these whole new things. And so with this Web3 and this blockchain, initially the way you're looking at it is like, yo, how can I do the things that I'm already doing? But when you start understanding it, you'll go, oh, I can make these whole new recipes that only my unique experience could bring together in the world. Yeah. And now I just created something forever.
Yeah. And we lost YU for a little bit. I know that they were having some connectivity issues, but for me, that's what at least resonates with me. Because again, like I said, and Kane, I would love for you to comment, because I'm like, at the same time, I do know people who are just like, I mean, Mental Stamina, you know, the same folks who were just like, they are just reluctant to anything anybody presents. You know, and it's hard to help people and educate people who in that mindset. You don't want to leave people behind, but like, I wonder what's the method in terms of trying to reframe, you know, to make this equitable for people, to offer equitable access. I mean, that's why there is so few people who are you know, who are able to do so many things, because it's the same thing with demystifying the stock market. Like, you can get a Series 7 and yeah, you spend a little bit of dollars, but you can become an investment banker and do whatever you want to do in terms and expand, and you don't need a
Don't
degree to
don't
do it.
don't demystify it. That doesn't have to be your job unless you're a teacher.
Okay.
Just get rich.
Expound on that, because what do you, I mean, if you want to
No.
try and yeah.
But I'm saying, like Dumi was saying, people want practical examples, and people like, instead of you saying this is how you do all of these things, if you as the artist just do these things, and people go, oh wow, I do want a Mercedes. That looks fly. She got a Mercedes. You know what I'm saying? If you just get into crypto, like I was just telling you a second ago, Jay Skrilla is a blockchain legend for life, because he created something. So now he's able to create forever off of what he created, because he made himself, you know what I'm saying? All of us have the ability to do incredible things. What that is, we haven't even thought of it yet. It could be a merger of two things that already exist. It could be, who knows what it is, but this is just a new platform, a new medium. The more knowledge that we all have on it, and then the more stronger. So the benefit usually to onboarding other people is that you make your network stronger. That's usually the multi-level marketing of crypto, is that people are like, hey, buy into the crypto that I own, because when they buy into it, now you just made them money by buying on top of their position. So usually everybody who's trying to help you is also trying to profit off of you. But the thing is, if you understand the blockchain, it's not just about financial transactions, it's data. And so you can, instead of trying to get people into financial positions, you can be passing knowledge around. And so we can create a strong network of, without any money. Let's say it's just 100 of us together. Because it's 100 of us, we have a strong social dent. It's dense like gravity. And so that's the vision of putting all the rappers together. We just put all our music together and just all hold hands. And it's like how space-time, you put a dent in space-time, and now everybody just starts getting sucked into where we are. So it doesn't really, we don't have to use money to make money. We can use energy and knowledge. And so that's the main thing that we got to understand. We have so much power because we've been working in these, and we've been working in music and in these social industries for decades. So we got these fists already. We don't have to start from scratch when we get onto the blockchain. We actually come in that motherfucker like the Incredible Hulk and just, it's beautiful if we understand our powers.
Wow, that is, I love that.
Kane Mayfield is a perfect example of that, because last year, like, I just remember talking to him. He was like, I don't know what all this NFT mumbo jumbo stuff. And I'm just like, yo, just start dropping NFTs. I was like, dog, you talk like a used car salesman. People just like to hear you talk. And I'm sad that he hasn't talked more.
I know, I want him to, because I'm one of the people that thinks the same thing. I could just listen to him all day because it puts perspective. Now, I'm the kind of person, Tyrone, you and I have a similar aspect in the fact that, like, I don't get, pulled off by dissent or like somebody having an adverse opinion of me. Like, I want to learn, and ultimately we're going to have, that's the point of discourse. We're going to not see eye to eye. And I'm not, I'm excited when I'm challenged by somebody. Like, that gives me a reason to stand on what I know or to gain understanding. So I'm like, Kane, I would love for you to talk a little bit about your experience. And again, trying to not only just as a creator, but like you trying to get same thing that Mental Stamina was trying to do, get people to embrace the same thing.
You should ask Kane about his NFT project, because Kane released an NFT project called Handprints, and it's phenomenal.
Kane,
There's
do
a
you wanna
question
talk
I
about
see. Yeah, sure, but there's a question pinned up there. How do you price your NFT? Fucking Jagar. Yo, that's Jaguar Big Lots right there. No one's gonna answer how to price your NFT. No one should answer anyway. It's one of those things that you'll ask a lot of questions when you first start, and everyone will be very eager to answer you. Sometimes we'll argue answering your question. Certain questions no one should touch. No one should tell you how much to charge for your NFT. Nobody. No one should tell you where to mint. There's certain things that should be left entirely up to you, and you should do that without anyone's thumb on the scale. Someone was said I agree
another
with.
comment up
Some
to Kane Mayfield. Someone asked.
So Prowess, you also got to understand, Kane brought a bunch of trolls in here with him. So these people
these
are
ain't
trolling
trolls.
right now.
They're not trolls. If they're trolling anybody, it's me.
She's trolling. She's
You brought
trolling.
the Mayfielders up in here.
The comment of what's a Tezos? that's
She
rad.
said what's a Tezo. She knows she's trolling.
Yeah, no, Tezos is what Rad said to me when I made a joint called it's called Gold Futures, and he watched me make it on Discord, and he goes, "What is it? Where you putting that at? You putting it on ETH?" I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna put it on Tez." He goes, "Tez? The fuck is a Tezos?" And that was because he's a Bitcoin maxi. So I also advise against maxiness. I'm a people maxi. You know, I don't subscribe to any one particular chain. I'm a blockchain agnostic, platform agnostic. But I started off doing this in early 2021, and so a little bit more than a year and a half ago. I've been active for about a year and a half, but I started off early 2021, like January, February, just listening and being in different rooms and going to the cipher and, you know, figuring things out and asking questions. And as I started to go a little further, making NFTs, minting, moving different blockchains, going different places, meeting more people, learning more stuff, holding rooms myself, having a show, like, you know, you get some good information. I don't think that anyone should pay for the information, and that's I don't have tons of rules, but I don't think anyone should tell you how much to charge for your work, where you should mint it at, and the basic stuff of onboarding, no one should, you know, profit off of that, because anyone who makes money from you being blind is not incentivized to help you see. So I'm just a big fan of the information should be free, and I didn't pay for it. So, you know, I mean, it costs you time. You know, the only thing you got to pay is attention. I just helped Tech from Smith & Wesson sell out his drop. I came up with the idea. I onboarded Tech. I got another artist to make the NFT, and I helped them sell it out from Monday to Friday. Gone. Every copy is sold or accounted for. Mm-hmm. You know how much I made from that? Nothing. I didn't want nothing. I wanted to do the right thing. Everything I do isn't for money. You know, I make money by selling my NFTs. That's an honest way for me to live. The information is free for me to give out. Now, there's people I'll charge. Don't get me wrong, but I'm also not an evangelist. Like when you first start out, you knew, and it's the same as finding Jesus. I imagine. I've never found him, but I found this. And when you tell people like, yo, you want to do this, you want to learn about this, and I ran around to everybody. Them niggas ain't listen. I told them, I was like, yo, y'all should do this, this, and this, and this, and you come over here, it's wow easy. And they had a bunch of, like, you know, opinions of what they thought they needed to know. And I told them, you don't need to know nothing. I told YU. I said, you're making NFTs now. You're taking your art, you're taking artwork, you're putting your music into it, doing some glitch effect and adding vaporwave. The only thing is you're minting it to Instagram and selling it for likes. Why don't you mint it over here and sell it for money?
Okay.
And I'll be honest, like, and I'm no one here. Obviously, YU's a phenomenal MC, far better than myself. I just think it'd be better for him to be making more off that art. There's MCs that I do know who ain't got nothing going on, and frankly, what they got to lose, I couldn't tell you. I don't know what they doing. They hamster wheeling. They got plenty of time in the day. They don't like talking to me about it because I don't, you know, I've been the same way as I don't mince words. Yeah, I talk to somebody like, yo, what are you doing? Hey man, I ain't do my Mega Man mask yet. I ain't call you about none of that. How's your kids? How's life? And he's nah, it's good, man. I'm about to go to a video shoot. A video? Shooting a music video? You're gonna put that on music video television, are you, Boomer? Maybe it'll come on after Def Leppard. Oh, I should be making NFTs. And I just broke down the math and I said, no, what you're doing is Pavlovian and it makes me sad. You don't even understand why what you're doing is bad for you. The model you're following didn't work when you learned it. It hasn't worked since. And you just refuse to let go and try something different. You shouldn't be making NFTs because you don't know anything about NFTs. You know what the fuck you do. You don't belong here. However, you're going to take this video and use it to gin up interest in your coming project, right? Yeah. Where's that project going to be for sale? Oh, we're going to stream it. Yeah, I figured. So you're going to put it on Spotify. Now, 75,000 is a lot of views or plays for a man of your station. Now, no one down at Spotify is getting frothy in the loins over 75,000 plays. But you'll be really excited because that's a lot of plays for a man of your station. But they pay 0.0033 cents a stream, so that's $247.50. So what that means is the weed budget on the video you're using to promote the project you're selling for streams is more than you can make in your wildest dreams. You're an idiot. Why don't you put it on Emanate where they pay 1 to 10 cents a stream? Yeah, they pay in crypto, so maybe you got to learn about something. But it's better than what you're doing. And then there's a lot of different tools and people you can meet that can help you expand your reach. I'm not holding people's hand. I have a community. The people who show up are all in my community. And frankly, I'm in theirs.
Yeah.
I told them in the very beginning, I don't belong here. I'm a sham. I don't even know how to draw. I'm using GANs and I'm cheating. And they said, nah, Kane, you're good. It took most of the people you see in this chat months to convince me I'm a real artist, a visual artist. It took them months. It's still taking some of them months to convince me that I'm an influencer and a voice in the space. Because really all I'm doing is hanging out with my friends, making them laugh while we make some art and try to make some money, helping some people along the way. I don't want nothing from anybody. I'm not building a pyramid for anybody to live in with me. There's no money that's changing hands. And most of the people I'm with, I try to help them get some bread. If I see people over here with jelly and I see some people over here with peanut butter, I don't middleman my way in. I just say, hey, why don't y'all get together, go get some bread together? And I step to the side. Because it doesn't, okay. I sell NFTs. I don't need anything. I'm going to keep selling NFTs. And it's if this is the best that it gets, this is more than a failed struggle rapper from Baltimore deserves. If this is the best it gets, and it never gets no better than this, then this was more than enough. And I'm totally content with where I am right now. I love what I'm doing. I love the people that I get a chance to hang out with, and I love that we get to learn and share and trade ideas. However, the space isn't my community. The space isn't the places that I hang out. The space has people that will steal from you. The space has people that will take your ideas. So it's important that when you're coming into NFTs, Web3, crypto, whatever you know it as, you should do so with your checkbook away, your eyes firmly affixed on what it is you're trying to do, and know that you don't have to learn about how to build a TV to enjoy a TV. You don't need to know all that stuff. When I onboard somebody, I don't use the word fungible. I hate that word. It's a dumb word. It sounds like a fungus is fuckable. I figure out who they are, and I onboard them in the terms of what their why is. Your why is going to be different than mine. My why is going to be different than yours. Someone whose plan is to make digital wearables, their why is going to have nothing to do with my why. But that doesn't mean we can't be friends. It doesn't mean we can't work together, do some cool stuff. I'll give you a good example. Jagar, who's a phenomenal crypto. In fact, I will put Jagar head to head against anyone who makes crypto voxels, wearables, or parcels. He's incredible. He's amazing. He just built the Bat Cave. Like, the guy's stupid how good he is. The tech drop, I had 5 left. And we at this point, we'd sold 60 something. But I had 5 left. And 5 were pissing me off because they weren't moving. And I don't get no money off this, but it's pride at this point. My pride's involved. I gotta sell these damn NFTs. Jagar made tech and crypto voxels almost as a joke. So I'm like, yo, Jagar, I need you to make these wearables real quick. He's like, don't worry, I got you. And I go, okay, cool. I go back to my show. I'm like, listen, if we sell this tech dropout tonight, everyone's getting airdropped the tech wearables where he has the Nervous Record shirt and all that cool shit for you to wear in crypto voxels. Now people who ain't even buying this shit are like, come on, guys, we gotta get this thing going. And the camaraderie is there. Everyone's getting their airdrops. I do everything that I say I'm gonna do, and I'm happy to be in the space. But nah, y'all don't have to learn nothing. This is not hard. I'm an idiot and I could do it. It's not brain surgery, it's meatball surgery. So just understand that and be open to the new part. Like, yeah, some of the stuff, you could join a gang later. I always tell people, you could join a gang later. There's always time for you to join a gang. How decentralized you choose to be is a personal thing you're going to season your food with. And frankly, I'm not going to care. I know people who are going to be way more maxi than you. I know people who are going to be way less maxi than you. You'll fall somewhere on the spectrum, and that'll just be what you are. If you're going to fall in love with a blockchain, let it make you rich first. Because it's just weird to be like a Republican in West Virginia living in a shack talking about how you need this guy to make more millions of dollars. It's weird for you to love a blockchain that hasn't done anything for you. I just love, what it represents. Or like, all right, cool, but lots of blockchains are cool. Like, you don't got to do that in here. Like, there's Tezos people, there's ETH people, there's Bitcoin people, there's Solana people. I look at Solana funny. I'm not going to pretend like their blockchain is made of Swarovski crystals and commemorative plate. It breaks all the time. I don't mind that. I take pot shots at them, but I take pot shots at Cardano people. I take pot shots at XRP tinfoil hat people. You don't have to know what none of this means if you're new. Just understand that there's plenty. Everything I just named is a set. You can click up later. For right now, I just need you to know what the basic shit is. This is when we have breakfast. This is when we have lunch. Hey, are you Spanish? No, you probably shouldn't use that phone. It's like jail. No, you can join a gang in your own time. It's like, oh, thanks. What do you want? I don't want anything. I just think that this would be better if people didn't get their sneakers snatched from intake. So this is what prison is. Don't trust that guy. Those are thieves. This is a good person. Stay away from them too. Learn to make your own friends and blah, 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 blah. Are we friends now? No. I just think that it's good for me to not take your sneakers. And they go, okay. And I've inadvertently onboarded some supervillains, and we have to go back and brick their windows and stake every vampire in their castle later. And that's why I love my community because they choose violence. They're with all the shits. They with all of it, all the smoke, choo-choo train, heroin, whatever kind of smoke you want. They with it, and they inspire me to be with it. I'm just a sales guy. I'd be selling shit if not for them. I didn't have any intentions on onboarding or helping anybody. I definitely would, like, y'all. Some of y'all know me. Nothing about my reputation say I do shit for free. But I do now. So I'm here now. I jumped into a room last night and someone said, yeah, but Kane, you've always been this, because I gave them the analogy of the long spoons. I'm sure we know old African, probably the long spoons, the people sitting at the table with big long spoons, they feed each other. The ones that try to feed themselves starve. And I gave him the analogy of the long spoons. Like, well, Kane, you've been obviously a good person. You already knew these things before the blockchain. No, not at all. I was a stockbroker at 18, a mortgage broker. I sold timeshare. I'm a bad guy. I'm just trying to be a better person here. I'll break your grandmother over my knee and make her cry $40,000 worth. Because that's what I am. I'm just a better person here. And I think that if this can do that for me, it can do that for anybody.
Yes, I'm glad that you illuminated a lot of things. I feel like the externality of just how people orient to anything is just, that's just the nature of people. And at the same time, we're talking about artists as some of the most, childish and sometimes some of the most overly guarded people in the world. Is right when they say they're sensitive is to me an understatement for artists, and we're talking about a lot of grappling with them in terms of their reactions to this. But I wonder, I always had a question around like regulation and ownership, which is that, you know, how do people deal with the personal data collection and privacy and deep fakes and all of the things that have kind of, those are just to me just adverse things that happen in the universe. You take, you know, antibiotics, some people die from them, but you know what I mean? It's a necessary and unintended consequence of just life and how it happens. But I think people feel like, yeah, but that thing isn't regulated, it isn't guarded. That's a space where they can start to track your personal data, and they'll know what your blood pressure is, and all these multiple vectors across, you know, what it means for the security and digital rights. Can you or Mental Stamina talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I would always say with that argument, like, I just remember with the internet, like when the internet came around, everybody tried to make the internet the biggest supervillain. And the thing was, everything that they said you could do bad on the internet, you could already do that in theory before the internet. You know what I'm saying? And so it's one of those things that when you ask these kind of questions of can they track you and do these things to you on the blockchain, it's can they do it already? You know what I'm saying? Now, for the most part, yes, it's pretty much the same rules to some degree. Like we still live in the same exact world. Now, the technology does allow new things to happen, but we still live within the same laws and the same, you know, structures. So the blockchain, like I was explaining earlier about a little bit about like decentralization, and it allows you to have an anonymous presence. So like you can't anonymously open up a bank account or PayPal or any of these things where you transfer money. You have to put in who you are. With crypto, you can open up an anonymous wallet and receive transactions. And then once you receive those transactions, they're secure enough where no one can take that away from you if you have a decentralized wallet in your seed phrase. And so it allows different levels of security. And like Kane mentioned, is, you know, lots of scams and but all of these scams and Ponzi schemes were happening before the blockchain and before the internet. And so, yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for the both of you for sharing that, because I just like the honesty of the conversation of one showing and telling folks, look, I'm not trying to gather anything from this, and the fact that you are really, it's a net zero solution, but it's at the same time, I feel like let folks experience kind of, you know, this is an opportunity for people to learn. You've offered resources, you've told people, I mean, you know, Mental Stamina, you said, hey, listen, go back, play this later, put everything in Google. So there is no commentary around like, this is not what you believe it to be. It's really making it accessible for people to put it in their hands and to learn. I know we're right at the end of the conversation. We did lose YU, sadly. Technology is not the easiest when we are trying to be. A lot of that is just, you know what, we are in the complexities and challenges of like all that it is when we're just using Web 2.0. So I wonder if before we go, we talk a little bit about what you all have got going on next coming up. Mental Stamina, you're on a tour, a Metaverse tour, and I wondered if you could talk a little bit about that and other stuff that you've got coming.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I'm working on a project it's called Hip Hop Game, and GAME stands for Generative Autonomous Metaverse Experience. And so basically the whole concept is we'll be taking rap verses and turning them into metaverses. And so my whole thing is I'm trying to begin bridging hip hop with the metaverse. So just think of, you know, how they say you speak, your words speak, you know, whatever. And so it's like translating. So with generative art, you basically put words into the AI, and the AI generates art, unique art based off of your words. And so like right now what I'm doing, I'm making that game, but the game is like I said, it's that overall app, but it's also the community, like I mentioned. And so I mentioned earlier too that I had a website. It was called Hip Hop Database, and so I had millions of visitors on my website back in like 2005, and it was just a database of all of this information, just hip hop information in the community. And I built the app on top of that allowed people to have battles and for it to all be tracked and ranked by the community. And so what I'm doing now is everything that I've done in the last 20 plus years that combine hip hop, community, and technology, I'm pulling it all together into this project. And so I'm releasing my album. My album is also going to be released as a book and a play. And so right now I'm going state to state. I'm performing my album, and I'm building community, state to state. So I'm going into different places, kind of connecting the different hip hop communities and just building with, the few people, because, right now I'm a nobody. So going and doing tours and putting stuff together, it's like nobody's there to, small crowds and all of that. But the people who do come out, we've been able to build a strong rapport and just start. So the vision is that in each city, we'll have kind of a plug to kind of be able to plug the hip hop scene into the greater database and connect it all. So indeed, the next show is at Basie Cloud on Friday. So we're going to have like a Q&A. So it's free if anybody wants to come through and just ask any questions, further extend these types of conversations. Then it's going to be a performance. Next, we go to Philly, then New York, then New Mexico. And so all of that to say is that I'm building a hip hop Web3 ecosystem and like my own kind of personal passion project. So everything that I love, I'm putting it together and bundling it into this project. So if you check out hiphop.game, you'll be able to follow the progress and, see everything that we're working on.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm excited because I like it to be a part of this. And thank you for welcoming me into this space. So Key Turner, you're next on my screen, and I know, gosh, you've got so much coming up. Tell us all the things that you've got launching. Oh, wait, you're
I'm
muted.
still on mute. Really, right now I'm just sewing up my project. So plan to release that soon, and just being involved in this conversation, I'm highly considering releasing some things on NFT. Like I've learned a lot, and I appreciate the information. Like this has been such an eye opener for me. But I'm literally in the midst of working on a project, and I feel like this is the universe bringing other options for me to expand on that. So but yeah, I'm working, I'm doing music. I got some releases coming out with some artists, and that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. Yeah, I mean, simple and plain, that's all it is right now. I'm just working.
Awesome. Well, I'm still proud of the Knots record you did with Rhapsody, and forget who else is on that, but yes,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward
to
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
that was definitely a shining moment for women everywhere for me. So thank you for
absolutely.
that. I'm
Yes,
looking forward
welcome.
to your
Black Woman, y'all. It's on it. You can find it anywhere. Black Woman. It's still streaming, still going up. So yes, thank you, sis. I appreciate that.
Yes,
Yeah, that's a dope record right there. Empowering for sure. Mm-hmm.
And Kane Mayfield and Dumi Right, who wants to go next? I've got both of you are in the same space on myself.
Go right ahead, buddy.
That's straight up great conversation, great information, and the way Mental Stamina appreciates you and Kane. That's exactly what I was talking about. Like, make it interesting, make it compelling, make it funny. Like, I'm getting the gems as we're just having a conversation, and I think it's conversation, not explanation. You know what I mean? That's what I'm getting from this, right? The more we just talk about it, the more people get into it. As far as myself, I'm leading a hip hop ensemble. We just started in the spring. It went over real well at George Washington University. So we got musicians that are traditionally in like jazz ensemble or classical ensemble will just play music along with MCs and songwriters. So we're doing our second semester of that this fall. That's going to be real cool. Working on some new music. You know me, I'm that global connector and plug. So I've always pulling in like people that I worked with or that I bumped into. So there'll be a lot of like dope collaborations and combinations on it. That's kind of just what I like to do. That's how I have fun with the music. So from the joint with Chubb Rock and Nathaniel Starr that y'all might have heard to some other new joints on there that y'all haven't heard, and even some brothers from Zimbabwe on the record, producers from all over the world. Did a joint with this cat out of France that has real dope beats. He had his pops play saxophone on the record. So just real rich and unique music, continuing to make that. And then just being that global hip hop ambassador, working on projects with people all over the world. So did some things with the Hip Hop Loves Foundation. We did 2 compilations recently called Stop Shooting, about violence in the global community with people in every country talking about it from their perspective. And then we did something with the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville that's dropping like in the next couple of weeks, where we were taking his 6 core principles as stated through the Ali Center in Louisville, and we made songs through it again with international heads hopping on. So sister from Australia, myself, you know, with obviously US and Zimbabwe roots. So just essentially, you know, global hip hop excursions is kind of how I'll describe it in a nutshell. So there'll be projects, there'll be events, performances, and then definitely looking at new and better ways to disseminate that music in ways that are beneficial to, you know, make sure, one, we can fund some of these innovative international projects and initiatives, right? So we're not just doing it for the love. I can't necessarily eat the love or pay my mortgage with the love or even continue to do projects. The next thing needs to be financed somehow, some way, right? And it's also only right that art gets the support and you know, reinvestment that it deserves. So looking for these new avenues and platforms. So I really appreciate the conversation.
Yes. As soon as Kane Mayfield started about the streams, I was like, well, we just had like 100,000 streams on a song organically with no push or promotion or anything. But, you know, considering the transfer of knowledge, I'm thinking to myself, well, there we go, right? There's what fraction of a penny did.
Yeah, I'll send you your $6.30 from that 100,000 that the producer is going to get his cut. So actually, maybe you'll get $3.75.
37
revise
cents.
that number,
Listen,
you know,
send me an
and then
IOU
it's
for
paid
37 cents.
months behind. So
Right.
I'll pay it to you in December when DistroKid pays it to me. You know?
And that's what I'm thinking. Like, what? How do we transfer
But just
that?
don't get it too twisted though, because you got to understand, like, in order for you to get like a Spotify stream, the person has to use Spotify. So in order to get, you know, a stream on Audius or one of these things, the person has to be using these things. And so, yes, while you may be getting more pay per transaction, you're going to be having less transactions. And so the core thing to really realize is that at the end of the day, like, I look at music like advertising, like marketing at the end of the day. So, you know, if you really got your NFTs or let's think about it like this, because here's the thing. That's why I love the kind of the topic of this conversation. I think it's such a complex thing that it's really hard to really get into the heart of this. But for me, the heart of this is my goal isn't to help artists get into NFTs. My goal is to help artists create their own metaverses. And so where Dumi was pretty much saying is these practical use cases. Creating an NFT is not practical. It's a thing. You gotta it has to do something. The NFT is part of this. It's like it's like a coin going to a slot machine to start your arcade game or something like that. And so as an artist, you want to create your own playground. And so like when I've been managing artists for over a decade, and the way that I always advise artists, I tell artists, you need to create your own universe. And as you make a song, as you make your logo, as you do shows, you're creating this whole universe, and your fans are entering into your universe. And so by buying merchant stuff, they were taking things away from that universe to remember it by. But here's the thing with the metaverse, you can now create this universe where now instead of them buying things to take away, they're buying these NFTs or access points that allow them entry and more interaction in this verse. So now as an artist, you have your own world, and now you're able to sell things and the things that help your world that only really exist in your world because you're building your world. And so all of your music and everything that you're doing is really building this nucleus of your metaverse. So we've all been already creating metaverses already. But here's the thing, it's like blowing air without a balloon. By having this thing called a metaverse, we now have a balloon where we can trap all of the hot air that we've been, and now we can do stuff with this hot air that is compressed together. And so that's really the thing. It's not just about making an NFT. What does it do? Why do they use it? And so every NFT is really the start of a community. And so when you think about making a CD, you're usually like, I want to sell 1,000, 10,000 CDs so that I can make X amount of money. But really, all of those people that buy your CD are your fan base. And so what this does with the NFTs is when they get this, they're now a part of an ecosystem where these things work together. And so all of the CDs or whatever that you sold, they're these building blocks that you can code and weave together to make these interactions. And now the more fun or more interaction or more engaging, you can make these unique experiences that only exist within your thing. And so that's really where we want to be getting is, you know, that's why I was talking about like on my thing, I'm making the book and all of these other things, because by listening to my music, you're going to come in and you're going to be just in this mental stamina metaverse. And so everything that exists there, even if it's only 5 people in there, they're getting this unique experience that's just for them and that they'll appreciate more because they're my fans. We all have this new, and so it's like again, it's like you got to just imagine before websites existed, like trying to explain to somebody why they needed a website to be the hub of all of their music and merchandise. This is the same thing as a website, but now people can step inside of the website, but they can also own parts of your website. And so that's the thing with these NFTs, is really you're selling land in your metaverse. That's a strong way to look at it, is think about if you make 10,000 NFTs, it's like having a city, and each one of those 10,000 is like a piece of land in that city. So now once you just sold out of that NFT, people have bought it. What do? If you make your city a better city, the property value goes up. And if it can go up forever as long as you keep putting your music in and your love into it, the community will get stronger and they grow themselves. And now it's beyond you, without you.
Mm. There's so much that I'm learning and I'm hearing, and I'm like, I can't wait to follow up with you and Kane Mayfield. And please, if you want to ask more questions, again, the hiphop.game site, I posted it in the chat, but feel free to hit up Mental Stamina or Kane Mayfield for additional questions too. And then Kane Mayfield, before we exit out, please share with us what you've got coming up next, because this whole project now, talk to us about that.
What whole project? What are you talking about?
I heard you're releasing your whole NFT project, your whole musical project as an NFT.
Oh yeah, that. So yeah, I'm still doing my singles and records and putting them out that way. Still helping people with their project. But I haven't put no new music out. So I figured I'll just make some new music. A buddy of mine built some hardware that like a physical device that takes the Bitcoin transaction and synthesizes it into sound. So I then took that sound and I gave it to a producer friend of mine to put it into some beats. So we have Bitcoin infused music, and I'm gonna make like 8 songs of that. He already has it. He's just making it now, and then we're gonna put that out. But because I have zero interest in being a Web2 artist ever again, ever again. I'm not gonna sell it. It's not gonna be on Spotify. It's not going on any of that shit. Cause no, I direct most of my streams, as most people of my particular station in life do. They click the link I give them, whether it's Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music. Now, some of those other sites are good because they have them already. But if they want to hear it, they'll click whatever I provide them. So, as someone who doesn't get tons of streams anyway, I don't really care about streams. But the rest of it will be unlockable content on Emanate. It'll be one NFT. They purchase it. If they want to listen to the rest of it, they can listen to it on Emanate. When they do, I get 1 to 10 cents per stream, but I'm not necessarily caring about it. And maybe I'll make like 1 or 2 of the 3 of the songs. Anyone can listen to them. And if you want to hear the whole thing, purchase the NFT. And then I'm going to split the revenue from that with the producer and my buddy who built the tech. So that's a 3-way split. Didn't need anyone's permission to do it, and we're doing that. Like for the tech split, I just made sure that tech and the guy who did the art had an equitable split. I then got my man from Miami, Big Lou, who's creating an image of tech out of cassette tape. He's a really amazing artist. So he can create your exact image out of using like bits of cassette tape. It's just really, really dope. So he's going to make that. We're going to do a sub-asset for that. Then we're going to auction off that physical piece at Scare City, which is probably one of the best Bitcoin / counterparty auction houses. So we're going to have that auctioned off. So it'll be a Bitcoin, fake rare. It's a Pepe pawn shop. It'll be a basement and a scarcity auction, which is the first time anyone's ever done all 4 of those things at once. And of course, the Handprints project, the bridge to Tez, is being built because I did a project that I released on Bitcoin and then moved it to ETH without copy minting. So, I mean, copy minting is easy. You just mint it somewhere else. But I moved it. So there's only 160 of them. There'll only ever be 160 of them. And if you buy them, they can be unwrapped and sent back to the blockchain they came from. So I moved it from Bitcoin to ETH. And now someone built me a bridge to move it from ETH to Tez. So it's going to go from Bitcoin to ETH to Tez. So someone can buy my NFT on a different blockchain than it was actually minted on, without me doing it the lazy way or doing anything that anyone may feel is unethical. So just doing some fun shit. I don't recommend, if you don't know what I just said or if any of those words that make sense, you probably shouldn't buy it because it's not, you don't understand it. You shouldn't buy things you don't understand. Any weird thing you have in your head about some magic money you should be making is stupid, and you're going to lose money and you're going to get robbed by people who are taking advantage of your naivete and greed. Because you're having a naivete greed baby in your head, and it's silly, and that baby will lose money. So my advice is go wherever you feel the information is given to you in a manner in which you can receive it. I am not everyone's particular brand of vodka, nor do I attempt to be. I get nothing for onboarding you, and I act like it. So that's the way I recommend for people to go. Water finds its level, but remember that NFTs exist in 5 places. Not so much NFTs, but the community of people who engage in this behavior, which is Twitter, Discord, Telegram, Clubhouse, Reddit. Those are the 5 places. Anywhere else? Sure. But it's mostly in those 5 places. So I'd recommend meandering around those 5 places, getting to know some people, make some friends. Don't give anyone your seed phrase. Don't talk to people about your personal business. Just learn. Just go to learn and listen. Ask questions if you can. And if you ever get stuck.
I can't date on this thing. I can't find, if like, that's what you're saying. I can't date on this thing. Like, I can't go find a boyfriend, basically, or whatever.
Yeah, you'll find some nice Nigerian to take your money. I'm not saying that you can't.
You said don't tell anybody I was just joking, but
Yeah, no, but people do that. Put it this way, man. I'm at work. I recommend all y'all niggas keep your trousers on. I'm at work. This is work for me. Like, I haven't had a job in a year and a half, which is weird for me because I'm a worker bee. So I haven't had a job in a year and a half.
I'll say it as a single man. Whenever I meet a Black woman in blockchain, she's always like they're usually like up here. They usually look like they're got a lot of money. They usually got a little bit of knowledge. And so when it comes to dating blockchain, I don't mind mingling the two. It's just your community. So it's like the same way he kind of said, yeah, the Nigerians will steal your money. That's the same they said about like the internet dating. I lost to the internet, you know what I'm saying? But back then they were like kill you and all of that stuff. But hey, I mean, it is what it is, you know.
If the worst
Know what I'm
thing
saying?
with the Nigerian boyfriend that steals my money, well then, hey, listen, have you dated recently? That's probably on the low end of the errors. I'll take it. So yeah, but that was a joke, but I'm still like, interesting. Well, I thank you so much, everyone. I know we went over time a little bit, and thank you all for being patient enough to do that, because I wanted to really feel like this was a conversation that needed to be just kind of like an we had to have, someone said the info dumping, it had to happen here because there's different levels of experience and knowledge, and everyone was here to learn and experience this in this way. So thank you all for joining the conversation and being open enough and thoughtful enough to be transparent about this and talk about it openly. I wanted to give a point of reference for today is August 28th. It is hashtag Give 828, which is a national day of giving focused specifically on supporting Black-led and Black benefiting organizations. For people who don't know, Words Beats and Life is recently turned 20 years old, but it is a Black-led and Black-serving nonprofit specifically created for thousands of youth and adults. They've hosted multiple festivals, committed to sort of the power of hip hop culture and bringing together diverse communities around shared understanding and collective work to transform communities. So today is it commemorates multiple critical historical landmarks and Black Americans' march toward freedom. Today was the day, sadly, that 1955, 14-year-old Emmett Till was brutally murdered by 3 white men, becoming the flashpoint in the civil rights movement. It's also the day, historically, that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech. And it is the day that Hurricane Katrina made landfall in 2005 in Louisiana, which we know inordinately impacted many of the city's Black residents. And then on 2008, it's when then Senator Barack Obama accepted the Democratic nomination for president, becoming the first Black man ever to win the nomination and bid for the presidency. So it's this is all coinciding with Black Philanthropy Month. And so if you do have some dollars to share and or give, while I encourage you to give to any organization that is Black-led or Black-serving, grassroots organizations, Black benefiting, you can go to give828.org, and there's a number of nonprofits that are listed there. As I mentioned, Words Beats and Life is www.wblinc.org/ACT. I'll put that link in the chat, but feel free to go there, and all dollars are taken. It's a nonprofit organization, so you're able to write it off. And yeah, again, thank you all for joining and bringing your thoughts today. Lots of great conversation surfaced here, and I feel like I demystified a lot of what I thought about the metaverse and Web3 and decentralized technology. So thank you all again.
Thanks. Peace.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having